Alright everyone, it's time for another legendary occult literature update, another compilation, this time on Theosophy. Link in the description to my edition of this work on Amazon, which is the only edition because it's something that I myself compiled. Second and third links to my books blogs. This will cap off the Theosophy section, of course. I'm going to be splitting up a few of the sections, so there should be 2, maybe 4 more. I gotta reorganize the blogs if I'm going to do more works, because at some point you run into a character limit on the blog posts. I think I'm getting pretty precariously close. This is 375 pages of material. This is 9 different works that I compiled, plus an expansive foreword, of course, explaining each and every work, explaining a bit about Theosophy, its history, etc. Suggested reading list at the back. And of course, as with the Witchcraft compilation and all 6 of the others that I did earlier this year, keep in mind also I've done an extra proofreading of all the works. There weren't that many errors really to correct, but I had to reformat them anyway because the trim is different when you're working with a much longer work. So you still have to go through line by line, and if you catch a couple of spelling errors that you missed the first time around or the second time around, yeah, it just makes the final product even more polished. Theosophy is an interesting field. Of course, essentially founded by Blavatsky in the 1870s, I believe it was specifically. With her secret doctrine, some other writings, she claimed to have gone to Tibet, talking to these ascended masters, the Mahatmas, gotten various wisdom. Several of her works are included in here, including the stanzas of Zion. Now, this wasn't initially a standalone work. It comes from Secret Doctrine. It was one of the sections that I found the most interesting, though, and it's kind of new agey and bizarre at times, but it's definitely introductory material I needed to put in here. This is by Blavatsky herself. There are 2 different writings by Blavatsky in here. I included a couple of basic introductory texts on Theosophy, like Echoes of the Orient by Judge. Again, that's from the 1800s, just to explain sort of what Theosophy is in brief, in general. Occultism for Beginners by Dower as well included here. That's, by the way, the first work I ever edited, and I always recommend it. That's there. You've got some Steiner, some Besant, Leadbeater, etc. The rest fleshes out different subtopics within the subject. So reincarnation, vegetarianism was a big thing. Also by Dewey specifically, talking about Christianity, the theosophical nature of Christ rather. Talking about it was quite a long argument, not just within Theosophy, but within occultism in general. Occidental versus Oriental occultism. Which one is supreme, which one's better, if you can say that. The general consensus over time, I know Blavatsky was involved with that basic concept. Besant, less so. She takes over later. Most occultists go the Occidental way. That is, because they're Western to begin with, they tilt towards, if they believe in mystic Christianity, Hinduism and stuff, if they believe in this nexus of mystic and spiritual lore, they put Jesus at the top. And the Theosophists say, of course, we're waiting for the next incarnation of this divine master to take the world even a step further. But right now, basically it's the Christian era. The last one is like Gautama Buddha, Krishna. The Eastern figures come before. And, in some cases there are 5, in some cases there are 6. I've seen both opinions, not entirely clear. Other individuals lean more towards the East. And so even if they don't state, hey, Krishna was better than Jesus or something akin to that. That'd be a simplified argument, of course. Not saying they would actually state that in a writing. But they had more of an interest in Eastern affairs. Besant definitely did. This, I believe, was specifically part of why Steiner eventually left, taking about a third of the Theosophical Society with him and forming Anthroposophy in the Waldorf schools. Of course, his Occult Significance of Blood, I could not omit from this work. Several Besant works. Really good compilation. I've edited probably, I think, about 50 works that are either on or by Theosophists. On Theosophy or by Theosophists specifically. I had to whittle it down because, of course, if you get much beyond 400 or so pages, you have to reformat again. The problem is, at some point, it no longer makes sense to use a 5x8 page format, which is in my opinion, the most physically, aesthetically attractive size for a book. I didn't want to bump it up because then it would be out of step with all of the other volumes, and on your bookshelf it would look wonky. For the hardcovers, I have no choice. They'll be a little bit better, but that's just trim related. But I decided to keep it at 9 specific volumes. So you've got introductory material, You've got some material explaining various sub-concepts within Theosophy, and of course the Occidental-Oriental sort of disagreement or debate, you could call it, that raged at times not just within Theosophy but within occultism in general, especially the Occidental schools. The Oriental ones didn't really have that ideological issue so much. So again, link in the description to this work. Obviously recommended. I compiled it, reproofread. It's got all the trimmings that you need if you're interested in the subject of Theosophy. Also, just generally the occult. Of course, occult significance of blood goes beyond specifically theosophical doctrine, as many theosophical works do. The topic is spoken of reincarnation, for instance. They speak a great deal about Hindu and Buddhist lore. Mystic Christianity, of course, they're going to talk about the Essenes. They're going to talk about the Gnostics. With regards to occult significance of blood, there's a lot of anthropology in there. This is common. Most theosophical works are not just about Theosophy or the Theosophical Society. That's for the introductory works, like Echoes of the Orient, that I included here specifically because the other works aren't about that. They're about opinions, occult opinions with regards to these other topics, whether they be spiritual or social. So yes, highly recommended. And of course, if you like the compilations, I have released 7 others. The 9th one will be announced tomorrow, European Paganism. So the Blogger and WordPress links as well in the description. That's about all. Peace out.